All right. So what I was going to talk to you about, I don't know if you were reading the news recently. I saw an article. Apparently, they found an old tablet, a cuneiform tablet that they date back to around ancient Babylonian times,
Yeah.
and this tablet they saying is one of the earliest forms of trigonometry.
uh,
Yeah, and what's unusual about this tablet as well is that first they say it's one of the most accurate ancient writings of what we know as modern uh, trigonometry, and
hmm.
secondly, it predates all other earlier forms by over 1,000 years.
Well, those are Phoenicians that wrote it, right?
Well, they say it was around Babylonian times is when it was dated,
Yeah.
and it was
And one of the things that one of the reasons it became so powerful, they could navigate across the Mediterranean accurately because of their map.
yeah. I don't quite remember. I mean, the only other major things I can think of from Babylonian civilization is that they are credited to making the hanging gardens.
Yeah. Hammurabi.
Yeah, I can't remember who else was there. I think Nebuchadnezzar was part of them as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So his queen, wasn't it?
But Nebuchadnezzar, I think, was a different ruler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm trying to see if I can find the article right quick here. Let me see here. Ancient. This one. So I can find this trigonometry. One moment here. All right, so according to what I have here, now I think I originally saw it on History Channel, but I'm gonna pull it up through Science Magazine here.
Mhm.
So in Australia was I think where they were doing a lot of examining of the artifacts. So trigonometry, just as a reminder, so it's a study of lengths and angles of triangles, and especially back then, I imagine it's used mostly for architecture and constructing different
Yeah.
things. So a big thing that is used now is taught in high school geometry classes. At least here in
Right.
North Carolina. Um, so originally, it's meant to be like earlier, like what we had before this tablet. Most people thought that it was the ancient Greeks that discovered or came up with trigonometry, but with this tablet, it predates it around Babylonian times. The actual tablet is 3,700 years old.
Yeah.
Right now, they're storing it at Columbia University. But what's interesting is they had this tablet, from according to what it looks like, they found it somewhere around the early 1900s. And it only first was starting to get a little bit of attention in the 1940s. But it only now managed to get us some newsworthy news because a mathematician at University of New South Wales in Australia, uh, when he came across the image of the tablet, he was studying the tablet, and it says here that he took him 2 years of looking at the tablet, and he noticed that it's a true trig or true trigonometric pattern. And it says here the cuneiform inscriptions suggest the Babylonians use a form of trigonometry based on the ratios of the sides of a triangle rather than the more familiar angles.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it also says each entry includes information on two sides of a right triangle.
Right.
And you know, it's funny. It's a lot of different other civilizations claim that they came up with it as well. I know at one point I was taught that it wasn't the Greeks who discovered it, but it was one of the ancient. Can't remember the name of the civilization, but they lived in around the Arabian Peninsula,
Mm-hmm.
and I've also noticed this as well. If you were to say go to a map of the Arabian Peninsula,
Okay.
like three major cities. So I'm gonna just go to Saudi Arabia because this is where one of my teachers showed me here. If you pull up a map of Saudi Arabia, we have three like major cities. We have like Mecca, Medina, and then Riyadh. If you look at the map, it's looks like an exact right angle, like a right angle triangle between the three cities. And, and supposedly that's not by accident, but it's done by purpose.
Yeah, it's probably figured there's some power in that or magic in it.
Yeah, and what I've noticed just from looking at the roads don't actually go all together as a right angle as of yet.
Uh-huh.
But that was something that I remember I was taught back in high school that when my teacher was showing that a lot of math was done on that as well. That's the only big major example I can think of in terms of positioning of cities in modern society.
Yeah, it also allowed them to calculate a distance across a river or a lake accurately,
right,
by using the hypotenuse idea.
Right, and let's see here. So anyway, this researcher they concluded that Babylonians expressed trigonometry in terms of the exact ratios of lengths of the sides of right triangles, rather than by angles, which is a whole different new way of looking at trigonometry, where we were relying more on the angles. Now it says here, if the new interpretation is right, the tablet would not only contain the earliest evidence of trigonometry, but it would also represent an exact form of the mathematical discipline rather than the approximations that estimate numerical values for the angles provided. The tablet, he says, also contains exact values of the sides for the range of right triangles. That means that, as for modern trigonometric tables, someone using the known ratio of two sides can use information in the tablet to find the other ratios of the two other sides. Now, what's still lacking proof is that the Babylonians did in fact use the tablets or others like it for solving problems in the manner suggested in a new paper written by one of the professors there. One guy kind of has a counter argument that the Babylonians didn't know anything of the ratio of sides. It mainly says that it's a table of parameters needed for the composition of text, which only incidentally table of right triangles that hold numbers of sides. So it's kind of an argument there. Saying one side says, well, how would they be able to know that? It's just a matter of coincidence. While other side said, no, this makes sense because Babylonians had expert surveyors, could have used it to construct palaces, temples, canals. Now, different other researchers point out that the tablet could have been used to solve or understand right triangles. The hypothesis is mathematically robust, but for the first time being, it's highly speculative. Now, if they find other mathematical tablets from that time, they might prove their hypothesis, but it's really an open question at the moment. So
well, I guess the being an archaeologist is kind of fun right now with that new stuff coming up.
yeah, I imagine, because it shows what people knew before. And it also, another big thing I've been going through is I don't know if you ever read about the way ancient civilizations would carve stone off of cliffs and off of mountains. I think one of the first big thing that comes to mind personally is if you've studied like Mesoamerican, that I'm referring to as like the Aztec, Inca, and Mayan. More towards the Incan civilizations because they were most usually living towards the Andes Mountains. So if I'm going to find the picture here.
Are you still there?
Yes, I am. So
okay.
I am looking at just a photo right quick here. So a lot of their buildings, you see stones that are carved in almost exact ways, which is unusual for a lot of societies. But let me see if I can find where they carved from the mountain. Because I know that a lot of people, what they've been doing is they use a lot of fire and heat. Then they try to rapidly cool, which causes a reaction. I believe it's a chemical reaction or mechanical reaction, whatever the right term is. But basically, because of that sudden difference in temperature, pressures usually change as well, which causes stone to crack. And I imagine they probably did something to that fashion to make the stones symmetric.
Well, I thought you've been having fun this morning.
Yeah, yeah. It's been big on the news. That I saw. So I thought, I thought that was an interesting article.
It does. It is. It raises some interesting questions about just how much they knew.
Yeah, because you never know. A lot of people, they make claims about. I think the big civilization that we don't really know about, which we don't know if it's true civilization or stories or made beliefs, is I guess the civilization of Atlantis.
Oh yeah.
Because people.
The lost continent.
Yeah, because you never know what the deal of that is. Because it very well could have been some kind of ancient society or civilization that was towards. I don't know if it would be towards the Atlantic Ocean, like a lot of people would say. My bet is if it was true, would have been around the Mediterranean Sea, because I think the first reports of it was around ancient Greek times, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, and you've got, remember the continental drift,
Right.
that North America is drifting away from Europe
Right.
towards the Pacific eventually. We won't be around for that, unfortunately, but anyway, that shows you that you can actually have a good time in education, learning stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I had that. When I was first learning about programming computers, it was a lot of fun when you actually got it to work.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me how difficult that was.
Well, yeah. Yeah, you know, there were lousy computers and very, very basic stuff. And you had to type it in every time. And now that it remembers this stuff like crazy, it's better. And but that's how you learn. Trial and error, putting hypothesis out, testing it, and seeing if it holds up.
Right.
And this looks like pretty solid, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I'm just thinking because there's a lot of other ancient wonders of the world that we know existed supposedly based on records.
Uh-huh.
What would be ancient wonders of the world? So I just know a couple off the top of my head.
Crosses of roads.
Yeah, that's the big one I can think of.
Yeah. You know,
That's
that is clearly something you are interested in. You might want to, you know, if you have any extra free courses, you might want to take one or two of those courses.
well, I actually was learning about all that first from there's a game that I probably told you about earlier called Civilization.
Yeah.
They do a lot of teaching on that material in that game.
Well, the other thing you could be doing, you know, you like computers. You might take some computer science courses.
All right. Well, I actually have to go right now, so
Okay.
I
All right. Well, thanks for calling me.
just saying. Talk to you later.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right, bye.